want to welcome everyone to another special edition of Stoop Talk, which will spotlight another one of our Jewish heroes. We're extremely honored and grateful to have Charlie Harary joining us tonight, who is going to share his wisdom, inspiration, and insights on what it takes to become the best version of ourselves and to unlock our inner greatness. So before we begin, I just want to thank Charlie's good friend, Nathan Dweck, as well as David Azar, a board member at the center, for helping making the introduction, as well as Mindy Oren, who helped coordinate tonight's event from Charlie's team. Our schedule is going to look as follows. I will be introducing our guest of honor, followed by a moderated conversation for about 20 to 25 minutes. And then we will open up the floor for 15 minutes of Q&A. But please make sure when I prompt the Q&A that you put the questions in the chat, and I'll relay them to Charlie. Okay, let's begin. Charlie Harary began his career working at two of the best law firms in the country. Following his graduation from Columbia Law School, he then pivoted into real estate, where he helped grow RXR Realty into a multi-billion-dollar real estate company. Charlie is now the founder and CEO of Avon Point Group, which is an investment and advisory firm. But perhaps what he is best known for is being a prolific author whose most recent book, Unlocking Greatness, has instantly become a national bestseller, and for being a world-renowned motivational speaker whose talks inspire millions globally. Charlie, I gotta admit, it's been a lifelong dream of mine to meet you. So I'm completely grateful for the opportunity to be able to interview you tonight. Your contributions to Aish.com from I don't know how many years ago, your writings and your speeches and talks have helped shape me into the person I've become. So truly excited to hear what you have to share with us tonight.
Ralph, it's an honor to be here, and thank you for your kindness. And it's exciting to meet you as well. I'm looking forward to being able to talk together. Thank you for your kind and generous words.
Of course, thank you. Okay, so Charlie, before we dive deeply into the conversation tonight and take a plunge into what we're really here to discuss, we love asking our panelists what the quarantine has been like for them. So could you share with us what your daily schedule looks like and how you've made the most of the past 2 months during the quarantine?
Yeah, I mean, the quarantine has thrown everybody for a loop. I, in the past, have traveled a lot more than I am right now. Haven't left. Like, I think I'm on the same tank of gas that I was in March, so I just haven't moved. Uber's like, where are you? Delta's like, are you serious? Like, what's going on over here? So it's really been an entirely opposite experience for me, of where I'm really staying put more. I don't find it to be any less busy. It just changes. And I think because the whole world is home, it's sort of, we've all adapted to it. But I'm trying to really capture as much as I can. I'm trying to figure out where we can siphon off more time for the family, more time to learn, more time to take walks with my wife. Like, I'm just trying now that my commute is just a few steps. I'm trying my hardest to not lose it in the world of just reacting to all the noise, right? It's a big deal. We can react all day, but if we're not going to put the structure in place, we're not going to change. So it's hard, but we're trying to really change the structure entirely.
Sure. Okay, so our Stoop Talks have been built around the idea of learning from various leaders on both business and life lessons. So before we dive into the personal growth segment of the session, I want to talk to you a bit about your career, something that I think a lot of people don't know about, but you are a successful business person. You started out as a lawyer, as I mentioned, went into real estate, and ultimately founded your own investment company. So the question is twofold, and you could break it down as you want. So first of all, did you envision where you are today when you first started out your career? And the second question that I have is, this is a young adult event, so we are joined by many individuals tonight trying to navigate their careers early on. So could you offer them some career advice while they're experiencing uncertainty given the current circumstances?
Yeah, totally. I had no idea. And even my career now it's multidimensional. And so I started my life thinking that I wanted to be a lawyer. I think it was because when I went to school, I spent so much time in the principal's office. I figured like my options were either like jail or representing the guys in jail. Like I didn't think I had more than that. Like, I think someone told me once, like, you have no skills except for like you can talk your way out of trouble. Like, I guess you should go to law school. Like, that was the extent, I think, of the prep. And then I just took that path. I watched every, courtroom drama and every, you can't handle the truth, and ended up, majoring in, political science and communications, mock trial, and et cetera. And then when I got into the big laws, I realized that I really had a harder time sitting than I think you need to do when you're in big law. Ended up in the real estate firm. Really, when I was there, transitioned from the legal role to the business role, and then sort of it went from there. There's two things that I've learned. I think there's three things I've learned along the way, and I think for those people that are starting now, and honestly, people that are still in the middle, I think it's just equally relevant. The first thing is the greatest businessmen that I've ever met are incredibly self-aware. When you first start off, you think you can do everything at the same time. As you start meeting people that are more successful, you start realizing that they're spending a lot of time knowing what they can't do, and they're very good at knowing what they can't do in order to hone in on what they can do. It's not a weakness to say I can't do much. It's actually a huge strength. A lot of times when you're young, you look at people that are successful and go, well, if they're successful in real estate, or they're successful in retail, or they're successful in hard money, then I guess if I want to be successful, I got to do what they do. It's a total flaw. You have to understand who you are. Now, you can start doing that. Fine. But along your journey, you have to constantly be evaluating yourself. What am I amazing at? What do I love doing? What are the things that I can do? What part of it, even in real estate, there's a billion parts of real estate. Real estate is complex. It's not just like one thing you do in real. And to constantly be pushing yourself. How do I get better? How do I get smarter? What are the things that I can add the value and that I can add in? So it's so important that a person realizes that career is really a journey. The thought that you can pick your career at 19 and stick it for the rest of your life, that doesn't apply. The world moves too dynamically. You have to constantly be asking yourself, where can I add the most value? Number two, you have to realize that there's zero substitute to hard work. The Last Dance, I'm sure everyone's watched it, has drilled in what everyone who grew up in the 90s knows. Michael Jordan didn't just roll in and become the best ball player because he was good at basketball. There's no substitute. There's no quick ways. I can't tell you how many guys call me and go, if I do this. I'm like, stop. Just find something you can be good at and be the best in your world. Don't look for shortcuts. Just look to be great. Because if you're great at something that you love, you won't need a shortcut because you love what you do. And the third is that remember that at the end of the day, Parnasa comes from the Borei Olam. Period. That means tzedakah. That means emunah. That means you don't shortcut God. That means if you're cutting corners, it's going to catch up. If you recognize that even working is a spiritual experience, you end up living your life. It may take you 5-10 more years to find the success you're looking for, but when you do, it's much deeper. It's much more real. You're not chasing the next dollar to get the next thing to compete with the guy on the block. And to me, I'm still growing. I hope and pray that with God's help, I'm successful. I hope and pray I'm still in practice. But I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there. But if you treat your career right, ultimately it'll be an expression of who you are, and not something that you're sort of excited to go to the weekend for just to give you your check.
So on that note, Charlie, and maintaining that excitement and that exhilaration for your career, one of the first things that you mentioned in your book, Unlocking Greatness, you challenge the reader to ask, what do you want, right? What do you want out of life? What is your life's purpose?
I'm sorry, Rafa. Am I frozen? You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So you're saying, what do you want?
So I was asking you, one of the first things that you discuss in your book, Unlocking Greatness, you challenge the reader to ask, what do you want? In other words, what's your life's purpose? So right. I wanted to know how much of your career plays a role in answering that question.
It's constant. You're constantly asking yourself that question, and there's no answer, right? Asking what you want is like drilling. You don't get to the bottom. You just keep on drilling so that you can become a deeper person, right? It's so important that you're constantly asking, what do I want? Is this what I'm looking like? If you're not constantly introspecting, you can close your eyes and 2 decades later, you've got everything you asked for, but nothing that you want. Happens all the time. Guy puts his head down and 2 decades later, he's got a gorgeous house and the car, everything's, and he's looking around and he's not happy. And he's like, what did I do? The answer is you stopped thinking. You stopped thinking. You started becoming too successful too early. The game of life is to be deep. It's not to be wide. It's not to be broad. It's not accumulating stuff. Game of life is to be somebody, not to have something. Now, you can have something as long as you don't lose the be along the way. So you're always asking, is this what I want? Can I get deeper? It's a constant state of growth. And that's, for some it seems daunting, but it's actually the opposite. You know, it's like, you ever get that feeling like, I remember when I was younger and I used to like study for finals in like the last minute. And then like after I finally like understood I was like, wait, this is kind of interesting. Like I remember always having that feeling of like, hey, had I just studied like the first day, like I think I really could have done well. That's life. That's life. You know, like you can get to the end of it and be like, whoa, wait a second. I really could have had a great relationship. Like, wait, I could have. And you start asking all these questions because the youth is gone. Wait, how about? And by the way, when I mean youth, I don't mean like 21. I mean whatever. Youth is a mentality. We're living at a time where who knows how long someone lives, Mitzvah Hashem. But the idea that you're asking and you're growing constantly, it just makes the whole subject called your life better. It's a constant flow. And it's important because we live in a world where we're being distracted more than ever. The easiest thing to do is to watch some video about somebody else who's great. The easiest thing to do is to get lost in some videos. And the reason why we love those is because our soul knows that we need to be great. But there's a way to become great without working, which is watch someone else do it. And that's why throughout every single media channel, there's hundreds of stories of rags to riches. That's why we love Jordan. That's why we love, Tom Brady. That's why we love, stories like that. Kobe Bryant, people are crying. Why? Because Kobe Bryant stood for something. But we forget that should be us. It may not be with basketball, but that should be our lives too.
So building on the idea of success, you're an incredibly accomplished individual, a father, a CEO, an author, a motivational speaker, and an extremely faithful Jew. So what is your secret to attaining and achieving success in every area of your life? And how do you manage to balance? And I know you love using the word juggle, so I'll substitute balance for juggle. How do you do it all?
I don't. I'm a regular dude. I just try my hardest. I'm trying my best to be the best that I can, and I'm failing more than I'm succeeding. I'm not anywhere near where I want to be in life. I ask God for forgiveness every day that I'm not a better father. I'm not a better husband. Everything that I hope that I have comes straight from God, and I'm not anywhere near where I want to be. And I hope that one day I can get there. I hope one day I can be like my grandparents, like the people that I see that are above me that are doing things that are beyond what I can dream of. And I think that we're all of us we're just in practice. We're just trying our hardest. Even when you have seen people that seem like they have it, they're struggling behind the scenes. It's everybody's trying, everybody's failing in some areas, better in other areas. I think at the end of the day, if a person sees himself as a work in progress and he's just trying to get better, and he realizes at the end of the day that what we're really doing is trying to act with Hashem, and we're not. It's a different way. I wish I can say that I'm there. I'm not. I'm only an iota of what I hope to be in life, and the excitement is that I hope I get another day tomorrow, and I don't know what'll be tomorrow, and I don't know what'll be in a year from now, and that's the key, is to you can never get there. I learned this from my rabbi once. He asked me a question. I was much younger, and I was very, very distraught by where I was at like 26. I thought by 26 I'd be on my, who knows what I thought. I'd be on my second this and second that. I'd already be retired. Who knows? So like the dreams of like, and the rabbi says to me, "Let me ask you a question. Did you go to shul on the day after Kippur?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You prayed Shacharit?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Why?" I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You think the Shacharit of after Kippur is anywhere near the Shacharit of Kippur? Why don't you take the week off? Like, you think you're ever going to do it again? Like, you hit the height. You're screaming Ne'ilah, Hashem Hu Elokim, right? What, you're going to wake up the next morning and go 100 miles an hour, like in between no tachano? You joking me?" I said, "You're right." He goes, "You know why we do that? You know why God has to show up the next day? You ever get the feeling where after Kippur you're screaming Hashem Hu Elokim, and then like they do Hashem Tzevaotim, and you're like, what? Why are we praying our beat? Like, we're good." And God says, "You know why? There's no end. There's no end. Just keep fighting. Just keep fighting every day. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to have one good day." That's what it means to be a Jew. It means that you get knocked down, you pick your head up, you have a good day. You don't, you look up, you realize it comes from God. Outside that, I think we're kidding ourselves. And I hope one day I can make it, but I don't know. I hope so. I'll find out when I get upstairs. I hope at 120.
You're incredibly humble. So, but
True.
thank you for the answer. So just touching on the second part of the question, because you are a very busy individual. So could you share with us what it means to juggle things in life versus
Yeah.
balancing them?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that I learned from somebody also. Such a great insight that changed my life. It's a whole story. I don't have time now for it. It's in the book, but thank you, Ralph, for reading it about the coach, that Division I coach I met on the trip. For those who read the book, you know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you know about the Daily Show. We have a daily boost every day now in the morning, 20 minutes. So for those that are around, if you go to my Instagram or if you go to Facebook, it's live every morning, 9 o'clock every morning live. So I did this story 2 days ago. It's a long story, but I met some D1 coach on a plane to Miami once. And he told me that the hardest move in basketball is the crossover. And that started my head thinking, because there's a whole bunch of research on this that I didn't fully appreciate until then, that there's a difference in life between balancing and juggling. And if you get the difference, it's going to change your life. You ever get that sense where, like, I don't know about you, but like sometimes when I got to go somewhere, right? I don't want to take 2 trips to the car. You ever had that? Like, I want to go to the car once. So I take my suit jacket and I got the coffee and I got the knapsack, I got the bag and I got the lunch and I'm carrying it all and I'm hanging it on my head and I got I put the hanger in my ear and I'm like, everything's perfect, right? And like you get to the car and you forget you got to open the car door. You're like, oh, I didn't calculate for that, right? So like you're balancing and balancing and balancing and finally like as you balance it, like your kids just like whiffs at you and like you move for a second and the whole thing crashes, right? That's what happens in people's lives. I got kids and I got wife and I got this and I got business and I got to go pray and then I got emails coming in 24/7 and every day you walk around, you're balancing all day and then someone says the wrong thing to you and you're done, right? It's 2 o'clock and someone says, really, you did this yesterday? And then like you're finished because anyways, you're about to be finished. And there's another way, it's called multitasking. Multitasking is the greatest path to mediocrity. If you want to be mediocre in life, I'll give you the straightest path. You want to be mediocre? Multitask. Guaranteed. Because your brain can only take in so much information at any given second. So when you look at something, you can either put it into one thing or put it into 10 things. You put it into 10 things, you can't be good at it. You can't possibly, your brain can't handle more than you put in. That's why when you're on the phone making emails, your emails are terrible and the phone call's terrible. So the answer to this is what's called switch tasking. And that is juggling. You ever watch someone juggle? If you watch a guy juggle, he could have 9 balls. He's juggling. 7 could be in the air, and he's not even looking at them. The juggler, has got his eyes on 2 things, a ball in each hand. And for the half a second that he's in that, that's all that exists is the ball. And he trusts that if my motion is correct, I'll put the next one up and another one will fall down. The way you balance things is wherever you are, that's where you are. And you trust that if I spend a half an hour with my kids, my business is going to be okay. Even though they're calling me, it's urgent, but not important. And if I'm praying, I can close my eyes and pray to God because at the end of the day, it'll be fine. And when I'm working, I'm not working and checking anything. Wherever I am, I'm talking to a friend. The only thing that exists for the 10 minutes is this guy, is this woman. Because when you do that, you're all in. When you're all in, the quality goes up. You switch task, you balance. It's a hard thing to do. But when you start to train yourself to do this way, it's an amazing thing how quickly you can get things done when you're all in. I'm telling you, I've done this before. I've gone through my whole day and all I've done is emails. All I've done is emails because I'm talking to you, I'm doing emails. I'm talking to someone else, I'm doing emails. The whole day. And then I said, this is crazy. My whole day, I'm like half in emails. Take an hour of my day and just all you do is get as many emails as done and shut it down. You get so many more emails done. You get so much more accomplished. But you have to trust that the world will exist without you, whatever else you're doing at the same time. And if you have that trust, you start to balance, you start to juggle much differently. And sometimes it's hard. The kids are home, you're in quarantine, okay. But you see this happening when you're playing football, you're having a catch with your son. It's a different catch when you're half looking at your phone and half all you're talking about is to your son. And that's the key. The key is to juggle and not to balance. And when that happens, you get a lot more accomplished.
Incredibly powerful. Okay, so a few weeks ago, Charlie, I heard you speak on behalf of Flatbush Yeshiva. You said something that I deeply appreciated and that was completely profound. It was the fact that people have a very big misconception that the more spiritual you are, the less physical you are. But the fact is that spirituality is actually the elevation of the physical. So I think it's an idea that's an underlying theme in your book and one that perfectly encapsulates your life's mission. I know we're a little tight on time, but could you expound on the idea for the crowd a little bit, and explain what it means to unlock one's greatness versus achieving greatness?
Yeah, the core, the reason why we titled the book Unlocking Greatness, Not Achieving It, is because greatness is already inside you, right? Every one of us is born with a piece of God. But the reason why our eyes are open in the morning is because the energy that is within us is a ray, if you will, of the divine energy called God. God's not some invisible king in the sky looking down and always half disappointed in us. It's not like we have us and then we have God, right? Like we're hoping that he hooks us up with stuff like hello, like Share Panasa, hooray. Like it doesn't work that way. Like God's inside us. He's inside everything. And when you recognize that the body really is a shell with spirituality, you start to understand that in everything there's spirituality. There's nothing in this world that doesn't exist without spirituality. And the goal of Judaism is actually to take the thing that's in front of you and elevate it up. Those kids aren't just little kids. They're actually souls with kid bodies. And my goal is to connect to them and to grow them. My wife isn't just a woman that I share the responsibilities in my life with. My wife is actually the piece of my own soul. And we're connected again. And my goal is to raise her soul so I can raise mine. The work that I do is actually holy things. There's a famous man named Hanoch, and it said that when he was a shoemaker. And when he would make shoes, they said that in Hebrew that he would be Miyached Yichudim, which is the highest level of Kabbalah. And they asked questions, what does that mean? So the famous Rabbi Dessler said, you know what he was doing when he was making shoes? He was intending that the person who wears them should wear them well. He was putting his life into those shoes because he understood that shoemaking is also a holy business. The Tanaim and the Amoraim, they worked. But they understood that the work that they did was an expression of what they were giving to the world. There's nothing in this world that we have that is just physical. Now, here's the problem. When people don't understand that Judaism is the elevation of physical, they think there's like spiritual and there's physical. There's reading Torah, there's going to shul, there's going to a class, spiritual. Then there's how I get dressed, my house, my ball, playing ball, physical. And there's like a divide. It doesn't work that way. Now, there are things that are more spiritual and less spiritual, right? Like playing ball and Yom Kippur, it's different levels of spiritual. But the beauty of Judaism, and this is so important because this is the holiday of Shavuot, the beauty of Torah is not to take us away from the world. The beauty of Torah is actually to give us a much deeper perspective on the world. There's nothing that compares to somebody that could connect to something that is both physical and spiritual. It's another experience. It's a difference between lust and love. It's a difference between being able to do things in the right proportion. God's saying, I put you in this world for a reason. It's amazing. Sometimes it always bothered me growing up, like, how does that big rabbi have a wife? Like, why does he have kids? Shouldn't he be sitting all day, like in a Bet Midrash learning? Like, why would he be playing on the floor with a kid? Like, it didn't make sense to me growing up. And the answer was, God's like, you think I want the biggest rabbis to not be in the world? You think I built this world for you to leave it? I built this world for you to elevate it. And it's hard because the physical world wants you to be lower and wants you to gorge and more and accumulate it and to fight. But the spiritual world wants you to take what you have and elevate it up so that everything you have means more. Everything that it tastes sweeter. And it's a huge misconception that people have. That's why there are a lot of people that don't engage in Torah in a serious way because they think that the Torah is going to take them away from their lives. It's the exact opposite. Torah is going to actually give them a whole depth to the things that are in their lives right now that they didn't realize how enjoyable it can possibly be. And we could talk why forever, but to me, it's a major shift. And I understood that when I was taught that when I was younger. It changed me. I'm still learning it every day, right? But it changed how I see the world and what I'm looking for, because I trust that at the end of the day, the Borei Olam doesn't want me to have less. He just wants me to have deeper. Sometimes to have deeper, you have to be more focused and you have to know more.
It's incredible. It really challenges you to be the best in every single area of your life. Think about it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. So while you might disagree with this remark, we are celebrating a Jewish hero in you tonight. And one of the most memorable and greatest speeches I've ever watched you give was the hero's moment. So I would love for you to tell us what the hero's moment is and how we can all be heroes, especially during this time. I think now more than ever, we've seen what it really means to be a Jew and why we're special. So I would love for you to touch on that for a second.
Yeah. So just set the record straight. I'm anything but a hero. You have real heroes in your community, and I hope one day to get anywhere near the giants that we have. The hero's moment is a story about a guy that I met in Pasadena, California, after Eli Manning threw the great throw to David Tyree, and the Giants won the Super Bowl, one of the greatest days. And I think it should be a Jewish holiday, but whatever. The rabbis aren't listening to me, but I think, that catch should for sure be something that we should have some kind of mitzvah around the catch. But whatever. That's like a whole nother conversation. Maybe we will one day. I think in general the Super Bowl should be a Jewish holiday, but whatever. So after that incredible day, I think it was February 3rd, 2008, if I remember correctly, after that incredible day of watching us beat the Patriots of all teams, it's just perfect. It's David and Goliath. It was like the most perfect experience. I went to Pasadena and I met a guy there who's an ex-military guy, and he told me that what he loved most about the game was that Eli had the hero's moment. So I said, "What's a hero's moment?" And this guy told me that he's basically he got injured in battle. He was a commando, and what he does for a living is what he did for a living. Now he was in a different business, but what he did for a living was he used to help soldiers mentally. And he would explain to me that there were three types of soldiers, right? There were good soldiers that would do what they were supposed to do. There were great soldiers that went above the call of duty. Because then there were some soldiers that when everything went wrong, they never gave up. Like when all broke loose and everybody ran back, there's always one guy that keeps on going forward. There's always one guy that never says die. He goes, there's a moment that we all have in our lives when everything tells us stop, turn around, enough. And you shouldn't turn around, but you say, I can't, I got nothing left. Like when that mom picks up that boy for the 80th time from school, and they're like, he's not gonna amount to anything, and the mom goes, I don't believe you, right? That feeling of keeping at it, So he says at that moment when a soldier decides to keep on moving, that's the hero's moment. So I spoke about Rabbi Akiva, right? This is that period of time right now. We're forgetting that during the story of Ha'omer, when we would have all these customs of mourning, the reason why we did that was because it wasn't just that 24,000 students died. It was because we almost had the Beit HaMikdash again. 135 CE. We had Rabbi Akiva. He was the greatest rabbi of all time. He had 24,000 students. He was the spiritual army. They had Bar Kochva, who had an army, a physical army. They were beating the Romans, and we were winning. And we were about to build we declared a government, and everything was amazing. And Rabbi Akiva comes out and says Bar Kochva is Mashiach. Now it wasn't like Rabbi Akiva is the greatest rabbi of all time. He wasn't like Mashiach.org. It wasn't like he got it wrong. Rabbi Akiva says bet on black. You bet on black because there was time. And the whole thing fell apart. They remember the story. They didn't give each other respect. The whole thing fell apart, and the Romans ended up winning. And it was the greatest battle. We forget the battle then was even worse than the time of the destruction of the Second Temple. Rabbi Akiva was already an old man. He lived an incredible life. Now, if there's ever a man that should say enough is enough, is the man who's almost, I think, 100, bet on the wrong guy, caused death and destruction. His 24,000. Think about how many people that is. 24,000 students died. There's a time where he says, you know what, I'm retiring. I'm moving to Israel. I'll be fine. You know what he does? He goes down south. He starts another yeshiva with 5 people. And those 5 people are the 5 people that saved the entire world. They start the Mishnah. They start the Kabbalah. 5 people. Because he's a hero. And heroes don't go down. Rabbi Akiva became a hero every moment of his life, but then is where he changed the world. And that's our story. That's the Jewish story. I love what it means to be Jew. I love the fact that we go down and 1 month, 2 weeks later, there's 4 million shiurim on Zoom. I bet you they're having a meeting in Zoom headquarters. What's with all these Jews? We built this for corporations. How come I'm seeing all these what's happening? Why are there so many black? I don't understand what's going on. Can you imagine what's going on in Zoom headquarters? The Corona hit 2 minutes ago. There's 4 million shiurim happening 2 minutes later. What's happening? Right? You hear stories of Israeli soldiers, you see pictures of packing boxes for people singing Ani Ma'amin, and the whole world's going, what? How come Israel's a tiny country? They're leading the vaccine because we're the Jewish people. When the world takes us down, you know what we do? We look at the world and go, are you out of your mind? You know what's inside me? I got a piece of Olam inside me. You think I'm going down with you? You think a little virus is taking us home? You out of your mind? Do you know who you're messing with? You serious? Yeah, nah. You didn't mess with us. Okay, fine. We're going to now reach 4 million people. Because before you had to come to shul. Now I get to go to your house and Zoom. Okay, now we're going to double it. You still going? That's what it means to be us. Am I wrong? I got everywhere you go. There's another idea. Let's do this. We're the greatest people in the world. I couldn't be prouder. My son just had a bar mitzvah on Sunday. I can tell you something. It was not what I planned for him. at all. I wanted a big party. I wanted all his friends there. I wanted the music to be pumping. I wanted to give him to give a speech. I wanted to go in my shul. When when a bar mitzvah boy comes down from the bima on shul, it's like when you hit a home run in Yankee Stadium and you round the bases. He comes down, the place goes crazy. I was in my head for 3 years. He's 13. 3 years, I'm thinking this is going to be the greatest week, and it's perfect as before Shavuot. It's all lined up. The whole thing's canceled. We had the greatest bar mitzvah weekend of our lives. A guy shows up on my lawn, a DJ. His camp sent a DJ. He's playing music on my lawn. I wake up in the morning, there's lawn signs. His camp friends pull in at 2:00 and they drive by, they get out, dance for him. I can't believe the ingenuity, what's happening today. We're the greatest people. We don't sit down. We had a Zoom bar mitzvah on Sunday morning. I turned the crowd and I said, this is the greatest bar mitzvah I've ever been at. Every minute of that whole weekend, somebody came up with some idea to make him feel special. He read the Maftir and Haftorah by the window. People walked in the rain. Who else? I love us. I love us. And we have to be proud of us. We have to walk around with the pride of that we got this. And our ancestors are big people. And if we recognize that we're indestructible, that when we have our own personal problems, we look at those problems, we're like, you out of your mind? You know what you're messing with? My great-grandfather was Abraham Avinu. Are you kidding me? But if we don't walk with that pride, we give up on our heritage. We give up on our legacy. We give up on our power. We think that a couple of texts and emails are knocking us down. It's not who we are. And I don't think that's what God wants from us, honestly. I think God's the greatest coach of all time, and I don't think anybody thinks we're not in the fourth quarter of Jewish history. We are in the fourth quarter of Jewish history. I play ball for Flatbush. Let me tell you something. If Irv Beta knows who to put in the fourth quarter, God knows who to put in the fourth quarter. If our eyes open right now, that means we're playing fourth quarter ball. That means it's something that God sees in us that we don't see in ourselves. Everyone, everybody. But we have this complex that, like, I'm not a rabbi, I'm not the big this, I'm not the big that, I don't know how to read. Just it's the Yetzer Hara chirping. Don't be great. Don't be great. Don't try hard. Don't try hard. Don't be great. Yeah, you can't. And it's holding us back from being, I think, even greater than we already are. I'm sorry for going on that rant. You knew what you were doing when you're asking me these questions. You're tapping into all my pieces, right? You're prepared well.
Absolutely.
You're prepared well. You're poking me you're touching all the nerve points. So Ralph, I'm telling you, you should consider like NBC next, because I'm telling you, everything that I care about, you hit. So thank you for prepping me, because I'm all heated now.
It's awesome to hear. And so first of all, congratulations on your son's bar mitzvah. Mazal tov.
Thank you.
Second of all, it's so apropos that you're sharing this with us right before Shavuot, right? The holiday that we celebrate, what it means to be Jewish. So, Charlie, one last question before we turn to the crowd for some questions for a few minutes.
Yeah.
You've offered us so much wisdom and insights. I just want to ask you one last, more practical question. What could each of us be doing during this time while we're home? Maybe we have as busy as we are, it's a different kind of busy. So what could each of us be doing right now to take advantage of the time and to turn it into an opportunity for every single area of our lives to come out, growing and becoming a greater version of ourselves?
Can I give you 3 things, or is it one?
Sure.
What do I got to do?
No, go for it.
Do 3 quick. They're quick.
Let's do it.
Number 1. We'll start like in the different pieces here. Number 1, I just saw this documentary called The Last Dance. I'm sure some of you saw it as well.
Yep.
One of the most important pieces in The Last Dance for me was in this Michael Jordan's second season. He goes down with an injury. He comes back. They're not making the playoffs. Remember this? And for those of you who remember this, the management goes, just sit this one out. We'll get a lottery pick. We'll build for the future. Michael Jordan can't even understand it. Like, he can't process that he can win a basketball game, and he's not even trying, because we're going to win today, every day. We're never going to say lose. We're never going to say lose. Lottery pick, that's nonsense. Losers, you don't try to lose ever. One of the great mistakes we make is we think that there's some people that are more successful than others because the world sees them more. The mom who gets on a knee to help the kid feel like he's more than he is the greatest person in the world in her moment. There's no like, these people are greater because they do these things. I remember one time when I was first married, we had when I first moved to the Long Island, I had one son here, and I went to shul, and someone called my wife and said, "You're staying home for Kippur? You should go to shul for Kippur." My wife goes, "Listen, if you want to go for shul for Kippur, go for Kippur. I wanted to stay home with my kid. How couldn't you stay home on Kippur?" This is what they told my wife. My wife calls me. She goes, "Charlie, what am I going to do?" I go, "What's the matter?" She goes, "My friend's making me feel bad. Maybe I should go." I said, "Do you want to stay home for Kippur and stay with the kid with our son all day?" She goes, "Of course." I call my rabbi. I go, "Rabbi, what should I do?" He goes, what do you mean? He goes, "My wife wants to be home with my son on Yom Kippur. She wants to take care of him, but they're saying she should come to shul for Kippur." My rabbi looks at me and goes, "Charlie, do you think for 1 second that her spending time with your son on Kippur, but doing it in the right way, and you sitting in shul, you think God loves you more than her? What are you, crazy? You think there's one objective standard? There's mitzvot, there's halacha, but the intention?" We think that there are things that are great and things that are not great. It's not true. Every second of our lives, God says, be great right now. If right now is dinner time, be great in dinner time. If right now you're paying the bills, do it with happiness. If you're cleaning the house, clean the house b'simcha. If you're dealing with your kids, if you're dealing with work, if you're sitting and praying, then pray with all your heart. If you're learning Torah for 5 minutes a day, for 5 minutes, give God everything you got. It's the Jordan principle. I don't think, I think Jordan got it from us somehow. I'm sure Jordan had to have some Jewish grandfather somewhere. I'm positive. No, I'm not going into his history. This can't be that Michael Jordan doesn't have some ancestor that's somehow connected. I'll find it one day. Everything we do, turn to God and go, I want to be great today. I want to be great today. That means I'm in my house. I want to be great in my house. I'm talking to my wife. I'm talking to my kids. I'm talking to God. I'm working. I'm in the community. I'm giving tzedakah. Give it with a smile. Greatness doesn't come. You don't get to the corner office and achieve greatness. It's every day, every game, every play. Number 2, you're never going to get anything if you're reacting. You have to be proactive in your schedules. You're never going to have time. The world will distract you always. You'll never have time. Nobody has time. They make time. When you start your day, make time. If you want to sit with your family, take control as much as possible and set habits. And I'm going to give you the third thing. It is the most powerful exercise. I see that Mrs. Schiffer Hanan's on. I spoke about this last time. Nice to see you again. And I last time in Flatbush, I did this as well. So I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. It is the most powerful thing you can do. And trust me, it's going to change your life. 10 minutes a day when you start your day. Whenever you start your day, before it gets crazy. Quiet room. Or at night when you end your day. But don't miss, ever. Not more than 10 minutes unless you get good at this. Sit down and catch up with the Borei Olam. You can be the greatest husband in the world, but if you don't talk to your wife, you're not the greatest husband in the world. You can be the greatest father in the world. If you don't talk to your kids, you're not the greatest father in the world. Relationships require connection. God's our Father. He wants to talk to us. How you doing? What's your day like? He may not talk back in English because it would freak you out. But when you sit down and talk to God, always to talk to my grandmother, God, Aleh Shalom. My grandmother, I used to walk into her little apartment on Ocean Parkway. She's making kak. She's talking to God. I watched her play mahjong. Her and God are up against everybody else. She's killing people because her and God. She's like mad at God for getting her the wrong stuff. She's playing cards and she's mad at God for getting her the wrong cards. I'm like, Grandma, who are you talking to? She's like, look at me like, what are you, crazy? I'm talking to God. She's like, you don't sit. She lived with him. She didn't go to school. She lived with him. Everything she did, she's fighting with God. Al-Amak. Everything was about, he should be with you. He should be with you. He should be with you. You can't, the sweetest part of Judaism is that you get to talk to Hashem. You get to talk about your problems. He's your Father. He loves you. And if you don't have that relationship, it's like we're missing out, but you got to make it. You'll never have it. And you got to believe that he loves you, even though you may not be the biggest rabbi. The biggest rabbis deserve a lot of respect. You know why? Because they worked for it. They're incredible. Got to give all the right kavod to a rabbi, but it's a mistake to think that if I'm not like that, he doesn't love me and doesn't want to spend time with me. If you make time for God, if you make time for his schedule, and if you just try every day, whatever I'm doing, just make sure that I'm going to be a little bit greater today, stuff works out. Stuff works out. It's amazing how that works. It's amazing how like Jordan seems to win games, and it worked out in the end. It's amazing how people that go to work and try to do the best they can end up getting more responsibility and making it. And guys that go to work and always thinking like, when am I getting in the corner office? When am I getting in the corner office? When am I getting in the corner office? They end up having like, I don't know, usually it doesn't work out for them so much. That's the key. And that's, I think, how you become more of a spiritual person.
I'm happy you gave us the 3 and not the 1.
Thank you, Rob.
So we have about 6 minutes left. So we're going to open up the floor for questions. Charlie, I already have 2 in the queue. I'm going to start with the second one and then build on it with the first question. So this is from one of my close friends, Adam Ringer. At what age did you find this fire inside of you to inspire others? Do you remember the defining moment in your life that helped get you there?
I'm sorry to answer. I hope I am. Meaning, like, I hope I am. I don't know. I think along the way, I spent some time in Israel after high school. I think along the way I realized that God wasn't the big bad wolf in the heavens, like wanted me to like follow his rules and like I wanted to like play ball. Something happened along the way where I realized that my best friend in the world is Hashem, and that if I just understood that all the inspiration we have comes from him, and that Judaism is about getting it's something someone must have told that to me, and I believe it. And to me, that's the most important thing. That all the inspiration comes from the Borer Olam. That's where inspiration. It comes from the knowledge that he believes in you, and that we're here for a purpose, and that life is supposed to be deeper. That's where inspiration comes from. And I think along the way, I felt like growing up, I fought it too hard, and I felt like life is about getting stuff. And once that changes, and once you start realizing that there's an incredible world out there, and God's out there wanting you to win, and he's with you, and he loves you like crazy. Once you get that, and you get it, and you remind yourself of it every day, it starts to build the fire, because you want other people to have it too. You want more than anything in the world for someone to realize how great they are. Because if you're defined by your physical, then you're only your body. But once you start defining people by their spirituality, you want more than anything in the world for them to realize that. Like, the hardest thing when I have a conversation with someone is when they like give me that look of like, I'm not. It kills me when they do that. It bothers me so much when people are like, you don't know me, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm like, you can't? Are you kidding me? You can't? Like, you have no idea what you can and can't do. For me, it only comes when it's connected to God. It only comes when you realize that you have a soul, because that's where you become infinite. That's when that's the well you draw from. And the more you realize that, the more life, I think for me, life becomes exciting and inspiring, and you just want so badly. You want so badly for you to get, I want myself to get it more every day, and I want so badly for everyone to get it more every day. Like, oh, can you imagine if like everyone walked like that? Think about how many fights wouldn't be fights. Think about how many challenges we'd overcome. Think about what we do to our kids. Like, if we just got that idea that we're all spiritual beings and we can be better every day in the world, there's no way we can even quantify what's possible. Just that thought to me is inspiring. I don't know when or if, and honestly, I'm still working on it. Like, I'm still trying to grow. I'm not, and I hope to live it more every day.
You're definitely doing an awesome job spreading that fire. So it seems like you already answered the first question, which came from Gladys Haddad. I just want to recognize her. She's president emeritus of the center.
Nice to see you again, Gladys.
So thank you for the question. So we'll take 2 more questions. I have one, and if anyone wants to submit another one before we close it out. So this one comes from Jeffrey Sitt, another close mentor of mine. So is meditation a tool for talking and getting closer to Hashem?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the old days, meditation is now a popular thing with Eastern culture. We've been using that forever. In the old days, they didn't meditate on a flower, on a breathing. They used to meditate on a word, on a name of Hashem. In fact, that's how Nevi'im used to get Nevuah. They used to meditate and put themselves in a meditative state until their bodies, so to speak, were sleeping. That, by the way, this is from another shiur, why they went to sleep the night before Shavuot. It's a whole connection. But they used to put themselves in a meditative state, which allowed more of God's presence. Meditation is really basically getting your mind into the right spot to sort of quiet the noise. And sort of, it's an incredible tool for talking to Hashem. If you can use it, it's very powerful. But you can even just talking without meditating is very powerful. But yeah, to quiet the noise and to get to a place where you're meditating on something and then using that as a way to connect to the Borei Olam, it's very powerful. I mean, this is like real big stuff. And a lot of the big people out there, they use it in their own way. They won't say meditation. They'll say something like whatever. They'll use other terms, but they're doing that. They're meditating over a word. They're meditating over a pasuk. They're meditating over like a Kabbalistic name of Hashem. They're trying to get their thoughts quiet. And they understand that when you quiet the noise, you give room for the spirituality to come in more. You're more in tune. It's a very powerful tool. But but what I want to make sure, that's advanced. The people that can meditate, Jeff, if the meditation's an advanced move, if you can do it, do it. It's very powerful. But for those who don't know how to do it well, I want you to make sure that you still should be. For me, honestly, I could tell you, I mean, we're all friends now because I see a lot of you on the screen, right? Many times I wake up in the morning and I take a cup of coffee and I have coffee with God. Like I sit with God and have a cup of coffee because God knows me and he knows I need a cup of coffee in the morning. And we're talking and I'm talking to him. And I'm like, I'm sorry about this. I'm scared about this. I go through my day. I tell him what, and we have a conversation. Now, I can tell you, I can't point to it, but I know he's listening. I see the world. It's try it. You'll see. Like someone will go, where, how, and you go, you don't get it. You don't get it. But I'm telling you, it's it's incredible. But as long as you're spending the time, that's the most important thing.
Very cool. Okay, Charlie. Last question comes from Joey Sutton, another board member at the center. So, knowing what you know now about the past few weeks and this pandemic, what advice would you have given yourself 12 weeks ago going into it?
I would have realized that I would have been busier. I think we're busier than we thought. I would have blocked off more time to be thinking, to be learning, to be growing, especially in the beginning of this. In the beginning of this, I knew it was coming. I knew it, but I was the panic and all the businesses that were connected to all the stuff that we're involved in. It was such panic that we ran to do. And I knew that this was a time where God wants us to be deeper, not more, deeper. And I would have studied more. I would have learned more. I would have spent more time thinking. Like we don't spend enough time reading, thinking, learning, talking in a way that's purposeful because we don't know how deep we are. I got off the phone today with a rabbi from Israel. And I'm like, Rabbi, when is it over? I'm like, come on. I can't sit. Are you kidding me? I could barely stand behind the podium. That's why I couldn't get through high school. I could barely sit in a chair. My house I'm going out of my mind. I'm like, I gotta go. Like every day Delta's like, don't forget us. I'm like, I'm coming. And the rabbi's like, you ain't going nowhere. I'm like, no, Rabbi, when is it over? Tell me, come on. You see things that, he's like, you go back home. He's like, deeper. Relax. Deeper. Talk to your wife and have relaxed. Play football with your kids. Study. Open up a Chumash, a Gemara, a book, and sit and just read it. Stop going nuts. Think. And I wish I would have done that more. I wish I would have been like more when the whole thing started and it was like pandemonium. I wish I'd have just known, listen, relax. Grab the time. And had more time to contemplate, more time to study, more time to think. Because it's in those moments that you find wisdom. Wisdom comes when you slow things down. Speed does not lead to wisdom. We're living in a time where if those who are raising kids that are young, the greatest risk to your kids is that they're going to be 1 inch deep. Because they can do everything, but they can't go deep. Because their brains are being, we can do this another time maybe, their brains are being conditioned now to need to be stimulated every 6 seconds. Which means when they sit over a problem, whether it's math, a Gemara, a Sidur, a conversation, and it gets hard, hasta luego. They don't sit in it. They don't think about it. They don't delve in it. Because there's so much distracting us that our brains start getting conditioned. It's been, you ever wait online at like at a store and like you don't have your phone on, you left in your car, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to wait in line for 6 minutes. Like, what am I going to do for 6 minutes? Just like sit here? You ever have that? Where like you can't go to the bathroom without taking the phone. Like half of your life is like, well, if I'm online, if I'm in traffic, like what am I gonna do in traffic? Like I gotta make sure I got my phone on me because I'm in traffic, and it's gonna be, what if I got on the Belt Parkway? That's crazy. Like I gotta be scrolling. You ever see people in traffic scrolling? Every one of us wants to scroll. I'm convinced, because when thinking, picking a problem up and like really like getting into it, it's a lost art, and it separates people. It does. And I would have been more. I wish I would have been deeper than I am. I wish I would be deeper than I am. I wish I'd spend more time in learning and growing. The Talmidei Chachamim out there, they're great because they do this. The great leaders out there, they do this. The great business leaders, they do this. They think. They're thoughtful. You go to get, it doesn't matter what side. You go to a great leader and you ask him a question, he's thoughtful about it. She's thoughtful about it. They think about it. Because they're so good at being in that moment. And I wish I would have done it, but hopefully, I don't know. I'm getting nervous that I knew this going in, I got to tell you honestly, and it's coming true. With God's help, everyone should be healthy and well, and it should all be over. We should not know this virus anymore. Hashem should get this out of our world. When we get out of this, I'm going to turn around and go, I missed the chance. I know it. I'm going to turn around and go, I blew it. I blew it. I could have been more. I could have captured more. We got to make sure we know, and that's, by the way, the Jordan principle. Be great where you are. If you're in the house, don't fight to get out of the house. Be great in the house. And if you're on the road, like, be great where you are. And if that's the perspective, then you're going to be great wherever God puts you. And God's going to put you in the positions you need to be as great as you need to be.
I hope, God willing, we make the most of it. So before we close out, I just want to thank the Sephardic Community Center, Sabrina Mala, Sari Seton, and Julie Shehabar for helping put the event together. And of course, thank you, Charlie, for spending time with us. I know your time is definitely limited, but you always leave us with this overwhelming sense of inspiration and this, feeling that we could go do anything that we set our minds to. So thank you just for sharing so much wisdom and insight with us. And it was really a pleasure talking to you.
It's my honor, and thanks for including me and inviting me. As a Syrian that's stuck in Long Island, I got to tell you, there's such a joy, even on Zoom, coming back to the community. I feel like I'm coming home. So it's an honor to be here, and to my good friend Nathan Dweck. I don't know where you are, but I love you. And to everyone here that's here, thanks to my cousins, the Hannons, and to everyone that's here. It's an honor to be here. Hashem should bless everybody. Chag Sameach. And may we all live a life where we're spiritual, we're physical, we're the best that we can be, in health and happiness and all good things. And I hope and pray that the next time I see everybody, it's in Yerushalayim with Mashiach. Hopefully Mashiach comes, we'll all stay in the Waldorf, because where else would Mashiach put us? And we'll be eating the morning, the breakfast, and there's nothing better than an Israeli breakfast. And by the way, between me and you, if Mashiach comes, he's taking JFK, right? He's for sure not flying Newark, that's for sure. Right, it's Teterboro or JFK. So we're not too far. We'll get on the plane. We'll have the breakfast in the morning. We'll have the barbecue from the Korbanot. And I hope and pray we could do this again with our own minyan in Yerushalayim, and we don't have to worry about these things, and we can be together and really see the world where Hashem comes into this world and gives us true greatness. Thank you, everybody.
Amen. Thank you, Charlie. Chag Sameach, everyone.
Pleasure. Chag Sameach.
Take care.